Hello everyone, welcome to a session on evolution, and we are discussing about the origin of life. In the last session, we discussed about the earlier theories on the origin of life, and in this session, we are going to see the biochemical origin of life, also called as molecular evolution. The German biologist Ernest Haeckel formulated the modern hypothesis on the origin of life, and according to him, life originated from simple inorganic substances as a result of electric discharges, UV rays, and radiations from the radioisotopes. And these electric discharges, UV rays, etc., they acted as catalyst for the conversion of simple inorganic substances to the first life. The theory of biochemical origin of life or molecular evolution states that the most primitive organisms would have been generated in remote past from some inorganic matter as a result of action of the various natural elements. The entire process of biochemical origin of life can be categorized into two subsequent events: chemical evolution and biological evolution. Both chemical evolution and biological evolution has occurred after the origin of universe and the origin of earth. So coming to chemical evolution, in chemical evolution we will be dealing with the formation of simple organic compound, followed by the formation of complex organic molecules and the formation of the nucleic acids and nucleoproteins, which is followed by the biochemical evolution, in which we'll discuss the formation of the coacervates or microspheres, the formation of a pre-cell, and the formation of the first living cell. So this is a sequence. We are going to discuss something which is called as biochemical evolution of life or the molecular evolution. So coming to chemical evolution, in the primitive earth, four gases or four important gases was found to be in abundant, and the elements were hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon, and they combined in with one another and with other elements, forming simple compounds. And the simple compounds were the different combination led to stable forms like methane, ammonia, and water, of which methane and ammonia and also hydrogen were present in gaseous state in the atmosphere, in the so-called atmosphere, and water in the form of superheated steam. Primitive atmosphere consisted of four simple gases as mentioned above, which is the hydrogen, ammonia, methane, and water vapor in the form of superheated steam. In such a condition, the atmosphere is said to be a reducing atmosphere because free oxygen was absent, or free oxygen in the gaseous state was not present. In such a situation, the temperature of the earth the earth was in a stage where its temperature was decreasing. As the temperature decreased or temperature came down, the water vapor condensed, which resulted in torrential rain. And this rain lasted, or it is said that such rains lasted for millions of years. And when the water droplet reaches the superheated surface of the earth, what happens is this water droplets again gets evaporated. And as the rain continued for millions of years, and the gradual accumulation of water results in the formation of the river, streams, lakes, and the oceans. So this particular event in chemical evolution, that is the torrential rain and the formation of the primitive oceans, and this is also related to the origin of earth. So origin of earth is nothing but it is hypothesized that the earth and the other planets of our solar system are the broken away pieces from the sun, and they started to move away from the sun. As they move away from the sun, what happened was they started to cool. So in the primary stages, they had a temperature that is which was similar to that of the sun, and as they started to move away from the sun, what happened is they started to cool down, and this cooling and gradual it is not an event which take place in a fortnight. These are the events which we discuss now, which happens in millions of years. And what happened was, as the planets, or the so-called planets, they started to move away from the sun, they started to cool down, and these planets, they were retained in different positions and in an attraction field around the sun, and they started to revolve around the sun. As this happened, gradually the temperature of every planet, including Earth, started to cool down, and as we said, the four elements which were present in the atmosphere, they combined in different ways, they formed four different gases, and that resulted in torrential rain because of this particular cooling. This cooling of Earth resulted in this torrential rain. And this torrential rain, so the broken away Earth is also a broken away piece from the sun, and these particular pieces were subjected to meteor collision and other collisions which were happening in the interstellar space. As a result, the crust of the Earth, or the thing which is called as Earth, which is not it is not something which is uniform like a ball. It does not have a uniform surface like a ball, because one reason is that it is a broken away piece from the sun. The second is that it was subjected to massive attacks by the meteors, etc. As a result, large crevices were formed in this particular in our on the surface of our Earth. And these crevices, as torrential rain happened, these crevices were filled with water, and this as mentioned earlier, this happened for millions of years. That is rapid cooling plus rain. It happened for millions of years, and that resulted in the formation of our oceans, when water filled the large crevices on the surface of our Earth, and that resulted in the formation of our oceans and seas. The atmospheric ammonia and methane, etc., also, which was brought down by the rain, got dissolved in the oceans, and the other materials, or the other crust of the hard crust of the Earth, also the mineral rocks which were present, also dissolved and led to the accumulation of mineral salts in the seawater or in the ocean. And this particular event, or this particular atmosphere, or this particular situation, was ideal for the origin of life. So this is the first part of chemical evolution, where we saw and this particular event is coupled with the origin of Earth. So now we are at a stage where the oceans are formed, and the oceans, it is not the water as we see now, because it is filled with, or it is mixed with, or it is in the form of a soup, where it is mixed with the mineral ions. It is filled with the ammonia and the methane gases, etc., which were present in the atmosphere. And next is the formation of the second step in chemical evolution, the formation of the simple, or the first step in chemical evolution, which is a formation of the simple organic compound, also called as the micromolecules. The four simple gases, ammonia, methane, hydrogen, and water vapor, were present in the Earth during that time. And of this, methane played a vital role in the formation of the simple organic compounds, or the micromeres. Methane combined with other elements to form the stable molecules like propane, ethyl alcohol, acetic acid, glycerol, fatty acids, and monosaccharide. So here one thing should be noted, that this particular combination of this particular the gases, it can take place in it cannot be considered as methane just combined, it formed propane, etc. You cannot consider it like the first combination itself became successful. It produced something which is called as ethyl alcohol, something called as acetic acid, etc. It is not true, because the combination, that is the combining of the simple organic molecules like the ammonia, methane, hydrogen, and water vapor, etc., and that happened in all possibilities. That means in n number of possibilities they combine, and what we have named as propane, ethyl alcohol, acetic acid, then glycerol, fatty acid, and monosaccharide, these are just the stable ones. There were more number of compounds which were formed due to their reaction, but most of them being unstable, they didn't come to the screen. But the other ones which were stable, they were present, or they were retained in the oceans, and that resulted in the next step with the formation of macromolecules. So the stable structures were retained in the oceans, and that resulted in the next step for the formation of the macromolecules. The ammonia played a major role in the formation of amino acids, the purines and pyrimidines, of which the important one was the adenosine monophosphate and adenosine triphosphates, which are the important molecules, or which are the essential molecules for life. These micromeres came down along with the rain and accumulated in the oceans, and they started to react again and react again in a number of ways to produce the next step, or to generate the next step, which is called as the formation of the complex organic molecules called as the macromolecules. With all the organic molecules mixed in the sea, this sea was aptly defined by J.B.S. Haldane as a hot dilute soup, because every elements, or the every possible stable elements, were now present in the so-called primitive sea or the primitive oceans, and now these seas or oceans are aptly defined as hot dilute soup. Micromolecules collided, they reacted, they polymerized to form complex organic molecules such as lipids, polysaccharides, proteins, nucleic acids, and nucleoproteins. So condensation reaction, nothing but the removal of water when polymerization occurs. During polymerization, resulted in the formation of polysaccharides, and the simple molecules, or the simple organic molecules like the monosaccharides, they polymerized in a way by condensation reaction, resulted in the formation of polysaccharides. Smaller amino acid, they combine together, condensation reaction, formation of the peptide bond, resulted in the formation of proteins. The action of fatty acid, or the combination of fatty acid and glycerol, resulted in the production of lipids, and the formation of lipids could be considered as the stepping stone for the formation of life, because the formation of lipids in the aqueous oceans created a boundary, because as we all have seen, when you put an oil, which is a lipid, into water, what happens is it marks itself, or it floats over water. It is not dissolving in water. So when lipids were formed, they were the structures which had a uniqueness, where it was not dissolved in this particular water to form a soup. They stayed apart, and this particular formation of lipids were the stepping stone for the formation of life. Moody and Fox hypothesized that the early proteins, or the primitive proteins called as proteinoids, are the first molecules, or the macromolecules formed during molecular evolution. They suggested it could be proteins or primitive proteins, and they call them as proteinoids, might be the first formed macromolecules during molecular evolution. Next is the formation of nucleic acids and nucleoproteins. Another significant event in molecular evolution was the formation of nucleic acids, and nucleotides, which were composed of purines and pyrimidines, sugar and phosphate, were formed, and they combined with the proteins to form nucleic acid combines with proteins to form as nucleoprotein, and these giant molecule, which is the nucleoproteins, along with the lipids. That's why I said that the lipids might be the stepping stone for the formation of a new entity, or a separate entity in the ocean, and that might have attracted the other molecules, forming separate entities in the ocean, and that resulted in the formation of the first cell. And when nucleoproteins, when they were covered by a membrane, that forms something which is called as the viruses. As you all know, a nucleic acid plus a protein coat, a nucleic acid plus a lipid coat resulted in the formation of viruses. Or when nucleic acid or nucleoprotein, they enlarges in their size or polymerize, they resulted in the formation of genes. So this is the last step in the formation of macromolecules, that is a formation of nucleic acids and nucleoproteins. And energy for all these chemical reactions in chemical evolution were obtained from the UV radiations, electric discharges during lightning, and heat from volcanic eruptions. So there was no other catalysis or catalytic molecules like enzymes, etc., to catalyze a particular reaction. So now we know for the formation of a particular bond, there is an enzyme. For breaking a bond, an enzyme is there, which are all proteins. We are talking about a situation where the proteins are being formed. It is the first place where proteins and lipids and sugars are being formed. And in that particular situation, the process of catalysis, or a catalytic reaction like this, a polymerization reaction like this, is catalyzed by the natural forces like the UV radiations, the electric discharges from lightning, and heat from volcanic eruptions. So with this, we are coming to the end of the first part, which is called as the chemical evolution. Now we are heading to what is called as the biological evolution. So we'll be discussing biological evolution in the next session, or in the next video.